The night rain hammered on the windshield like a warning Ethan refused to hear. His hands trembled on the steering wheel as he stared at the glowing on his phone screen. Haley's live location. It pulsed inside their home. The same home she swore she wouldn't return to until tomorrow because of a business trip out of town. Every excuse she had given for months. Late meetings, no time for date nights, the sudden privacy on her phone, now crashed together like puzzle pieces forming a picture he didn't want to see. He tried to convince himself there could be an explanation, but through the upstairs window, a human silhouette shifted. Then another, 2 shadows instead of one. His heart didn't break sharply. It split slowly, painfully, like a sinking realization dragging him underwater, making it hard to breathe, hard to move, hard to hope. Ethan stepped out of the car as if his body stopped belonging to him. The rain soaked him instantly, but he didn't feel cold. He felt numb. Every step toward the front door sounded like a countdown. He entered without turning on lights, moving through the house that once held laughter, memories, promises. Now the hallway felt foreign, like a stranger's home. Halfway up the stairs, he heard something that froze him harder than any storm. Haley's laugh. Soft, warm, carefree, the exact laugh she stopped sharing with him years ago. Then came whispered words, tender words she no longer gifted him. His knees nearly gave out. Yet he kept walking, driven by a truth too painful to avoid. Outside the bedroom door, he listened for one final second, a second that shattered the world he still desperately wished was real. The moment Ethan swung the bedroom door open, time exploded. Haley jumped up, panic striking her features too late to hide the truth. Jason, his closest friend since childhood, scrambled off the bed, grabbing his clothes, refusing to meet Ethan's eyes. Haley sobbed, swearing it meant nothing, but the words sounded distant, hollow, meaningless. Ethan didn't shout, didn't swing, didn't demand explanations. His silence was louder than rage. He simply removed his wedding ring, the symbol of a promise he had protected alone, and let it fall onto the wooden floor, the echo small but devastating. Without another look, he turned and walked away, rain still dripping from his clothes, heartbreak carved deep into every step. Outside, the storm swallowed him, but it was nothing compared to the storm inside him. A man leaving not because he stopped loving, but because he finally understood he wasn't loved back. Ethan and Haley met in college, 2 young hearts colliding amidst lectures and library sessions, laughter spilling into late-night walks under streetlights. They fell fast, a whirlwind romance that promised endless possibilities. Ethan admired Haley's ambition and beauty, while Haley cherished Ethan's steadfast nature and gentle humor. They dreamed together, a family, a cozy home, vacations under sunlit skies, nights filled with love and conversation. Every decision, every step forward, felt mutual, like a synchronized heartbeat. Friends and family celebrated their union, sensing the magic they had together. Yet, even in those early days, small cracks appeared. Haley's insecurity about not deserving a simple life she deemed mediocre, and Ethan's instinct to reassure her, often at his own expense. Their love, while genuine, began carrying an unspoken tension, the first seeds of compromise and sacrifice that Ethan would carry silently for years. Ethan devoted himself entirely to their shared dreams, taking 2 jobs so Haley could pursue her passions freely. He watched her flourish, late nights at work, new opportunities, recognition, and celebrated quietly while exhaustion weighed on him. But as Haley climbed the professional ladder, subtle changes crept into their marriage. Her laughter became rarer at home. Her phone was guarded, her eyes distant. Simple acts of affection no longer satisfied her. She began to voice discontent. "You're too simple. You don't understand ambition." Ethan tried to bridge the gap with gestures, understanding, and patience, yet each word from her left him invisible in his own home. He became a shadow in the life they built together, still loving her unconditionally while navigating growing resentment and emotional distance. The very life he sacrificed for now seemed like a cage, with love trapped behind ambition and unmet expectations. Adding to his silent struggle, Ethan bore the weight of family responsibility alone. His mother's health was deteriorating, and he quietly paid her medical bills, sacrificing personal luxuries and even small joys with Haley. When she learned where his money went, Haley's subtle resentment emerged, as though his loyalty to family was a betrayal to her desires for vacations, luxury, and indulgence. Ethan's world became a balancing act. Loyalty versus self-worth, love versus emotional neglect. The audience witnesses a man entrapped by devotion, constantly giving while receiving criticism and distance in return. His heart remained unshaken in love, but every ignored compliment, every veiled insult, carved deeper fractures in his spirit. The setup creates an emotional trap. Ethan's life is a silent storm of duty and heartbreak, foreshadowing the devastating consequences when betrayal finally pierces the fragile veneer of their marriage. That night, Ethan packed only the essentials, leaving behind a life that once held laughter and love. Rain drenched him as he carried a suitcase down the familiar streets, each step heavy with heartbreak and disbelief. Arriving at a modest apartment, the silence was both relief and torment, a space that was technically a sanctuary but emotionally barren. Within minutes, his phone began buzzing incessantly. Texts, calls, voice notes from Haley, each more desperate than the last. Denial, guilt, and fabricated promises tumbled through the messages. She claimed she never meant it, blamed confusion, and begged him to return. Ethan's love, still intact but battered, wavered under the assault. Each notification was a reminder of the betrayal and of the emotional grip she still wielded over him. He read and deleted, his pulse quickening, but he did not respond, realizing that distance might be the only defense. Haley's manipulation extended beyond Ethan. Within days, she spun a false story to friends and family, painting herself as the abandoned, victimized wife while portraying Ethan as mentally unstable. Mutual friends, unsure whom to believe, drifted away. Whispers followed him at work, colleagues offering pitying glances, subtle but cutting reminders of his humiliation. Emails went unanswered, invitations ceased, and Ethan became increasingly isolated. Even when he attempted to clarify the truth, the web of deception was stronger than his voice. Each lie chipped away at the life he knew, leaving him disoriented and vulnerable. Yet in the quiet moments alone, Ethan began to piece together the pattern. The emotional manipulation, the selfishness, the strategic spinning of events. And he realized that leaving had been necessary not just for his heart, but for his sanity and dignity. The world seemed cold, but the clarity of truth glimmered faintly. A few days later, Haley appeared at Ethan's apartment, tears streaming, voice trembling, collapsing to her knees as she begged him to forgive her. "I made one mistake," she cried. "Don't throw away our marriage." Ethan, heart still beating for her, looked into eyes that had once held love but now showed no accountability. He asked a question he had repeated silently for months. "If you love me, why wasn't I enough?" Her silence spoke volumes. All the apologies, denials, and excuses evaporated under the weight of truth. Ethan finally recognized the bitter reality. He had not been the problem in the marriage. The betrayal, the emotional distance, the manipulation, it was all hers. That moment crystallized his path forward, not as a man broken, but as a man awakened to the fact that love cannot exist unilaterally, and he could no longer bear the role of silent martyr. Haley's obsession with reclaiming Ethan intensified in ways he hadn't anticipated. She appeared uninvited at his workplace, lingering just long enough for colleagues to notice, her eyes wide with desperation and entitlement. She showed up at his mother's hospital room, disrupting treatments with tears and frantic declarations that she never meant to hurt him. Even at his apartment, she appeared at his doorstep, pleading, apologizing, offering false promises of a renewed life together. Yet every confrontation brought Ethan a deeper understanding of the betrayal he had endured. He quietly uncovered the truth. The affair with Jason wasn't a single mistake, but a prolonged deception spanning months. The realization cut sharper than the initial betrayal, confirming his instincts and shattering any lingering illusions of reconciliation. Still, Ethan moved cautiously, observing, collecting his emotional armor, and preparing to respond from a place of strength rather than impulsive anger. As Haley's manipulations and obsessions escalated, Ethan took steps to heal quietly. He started therapy, facing the raw pain, betrayal, and self-doubt that had accumulated over years of emotional neglect. Sessions provided him tools to regain clarity and emotional stability, allowing him to see beyond Haley's dramatics. Meanwhile, Haley's carefully constructed world began unraveling. Jason, recognizing the gravity of their actions, blocked her completely, severing her emotional crutch. Her work performance faltered, deadlines were missed, projects failed, and colleagues whispered about her unreliability. Guilt gnawed at her, amplifying her desperation to regain control of Ethan's life. Offers of a fresh start, children, counseling, and promises of change poured from her lips, but they rang hollow to a man now anchored in self-respect and emotional maturity. Ethan watched, silently aware that her world was collapsing while he finally rebuilt himself, brick by brick. For the first time in his life, Ethan held firm. Despite lingering love and residual care, he refused to succumb to emotional blackmail. Haley escalated further, screaming, breaking down, and threatening self-harm in a desperate attempt to manipulate him. But Ethan, strengthened by therapy and a growing awareness of his self-worth, did not yield. He made the painful but necessary decision to file for divorce. The act was not one of hatred, but of preservation, a declaration that his life, dignity, and mental health could no longer be subordinated to another's selfishness. Haley's pleas and tears washed over him, stirring old emotions, but he remained composed, embodying the strength he had quietly nurtured. For the first time, he chose himself, understanding that love cannot survive alongside manipulation and deceit. His resolve signaled a turning point, not just in the dissolution of the marriage, but in the rebirth of Ethan as a man fully aware of his worth. The courtroom was tense, the air thick with anticipation, as Haley attempted to stake a claim on Ethan's assets, her voice assertive but trembling slightly under scrutiny. She painted herself as the wrong party, expecting sympathy from the judge and jury alike. Ethan remained composed, sitting silently as the legal process unfolded. His lawyer, prepared meticulously, began presenting damning evidence. Bank transfers showing Haley had funneled money to Jason, hotel reservations under her name corroborating months of secret meetings, and love messages extracted directly from her phone. Each revelation struck like thunder, punctuating the air with undeniable truth. Gasps filled the room as whispers swirled, colleagues, friends, and family witnessing the depth of her deception. Haley's confident facade crumbled piece by piece, revealing vulnerability and guilt she could no longer mask. Ethan's calmness contrasted sharply with the chaos she had sown, emphasizing the power of truth over manipulation. With each piece of evidence unveiled, the courtroom shifted irreversibly against Haley. Whispers of betrayal, disbelief, and judgment spread throughout the audience. Her confident posture sagged. Her voice quavered, faltering under the weight of undeniable proof. Emotion overwhelmed her as sobs escaped uncontrollably, shaking her body, her carefully constructed image now reduced to raw humiliation. Cameras, journalists, and onlookers captured the unraveling of the woman who had tried to manipulate both her husband and the public. For the first time, she faced the consequences of her actions fully exposed. Ethan watched from his seat, a mixture of sorrow and relief washing over him. He had endured manipulation, heartbreak, and false narratives for years, but now justice was being served in its quiet, firm way. The courtroom was no longer just a legal arena. It was a stage of her emotional reckoning. Outside the courthouse, Haley, humiliated and defeated, collapsed at Ethan's feet, her pleas raw and desperate. "Please, I don't want money. I don't want anything. I just want you." For a fleeting moment, he knelt beside her, soft yet resolute, his eyes reflecting the years of love, pain, and betrayal. "I loved you more than you love yourself. And you punish me for it," he said quietly but firmly. His words were neither vengeance nor cruelty. They were clarity, a final acknowledgement of truth. Then Ethan rose, stepping away with calm assurance, embodying control and freedom for the first time in years. The weight of manipulation and heartbreak lifted, replaced by self-possession and dignity. Haley's emotional collapse was a reckoning. Ethan's quiet departure symbolized rebirth. In that moment, he reclaimed his life, demonstrating that love, no matter how deep, must be met with respect, honesty, and mutual devotion. 6 months after the tumultuous divorce, Ethan embraced a new chapter of his life with quiet determination. The pain and betrayal of the past lingered only as lessons, no longer shackles. He launched a small business, modest in scale but rich in purpose, allowing him to apply his skills, creativity, and discipline in ways that fulfilled him deeply. Each client interaction, Each successful project reinforced his confidence and reminded him that personal growth often blossoms from hardship. The empty spaces left by betrayal transformed into opportunities for self-discovery. Ethan's routine became structured yet flexible, balancing work with reflection, exercise, and personal development. He no longer measured life by Haley's presence or absence. Instead, he measured it by the satisfaction of creating, achieving, and living authentically. The small apartment, once a refuge from heartbreak, now felt like a sanctuary of progress, hope, and quiet empowerment. Ethan's emotional recovery extended beyond professional fulfillment.